Hello. Today, I'm going to talk about some concepts about where we might be spiritually. As you might be aware, many things have really kind of just changed on a dime, and how we're seeing ourselves is rapidly altering, and perhaps who we're going to vote for, in addition, is rapidly altering. So I'm going to just talk about some things that might be part of why we're in this place that we are in. In nature, every animal has its place at the table. Predators and prey, they coexist in a delicate balance that ensures the survival of each species in a certain balance. However, our current social landscape has become very disrupted. And the trends we are witnessing are akin to giving all the power and resources to the billionaire class, where we're hoping that some small benefit will trickle down to the rest of us. Unfortunately, this approach has led to a widening wealth gap, leaving many individuals struggling to make ends meet. And the middle class, the you and me, and basically anyone in the financial lower than us is struggling because there is no money. There isn't anything we can do about it. One of the most pressing issues stemming from this trend is the alarming increase in homelessness. And this is kind of a troubling thing. It's across the globe. It's countless individuals, and they find themselves without a place to call home. They're forced to navigate harsh realities within the streets. You can't maintain anything material out on the streets. The lack of affordable housing has reached crisis levels, pushing many people to the margins of society without stable and secure places to live, which then creates a stable and secure place to work problem. Okay. Individuals are left vulnerable to a myriad of challenges, including exposure to the elements, violence, and exploitation. The issue of unaffordable rent further exacerbates problems of homelessness, as housing costs continue to soar in many urban centers. Individuals and families are finding it increasingly difficult to keep a roof over their heads. The burden of high rent prices can quickly become overwhelming, forcing individuals to make impossible choices between paying housing or meeting other basic needs such as food, healthcare, or education. This cycle of financial strain can push individuals further into poverty, making it harder to break free of the cycle of homelessness. And so here we are, and the consequences of these trends are not just economic. We're in a situation where I believe that we're seeing a change in the tides. And what might that change really be about? Well, I think that what we're seeing is a move towards something more natural to us. The concept of the three sisters is what comes to mind for me. It's about spiritual growth, self-discovery, each one of us having an individual experience with nature, with spiritual insights, each one of them unique, embracing the healing powers of nature and the wisdom it offers as we continue our path of self-exploration and growth. There is an allegorical reference to the three sisters, and this is in relation to a garden. And why might I be talking about billionaires and a garden? Well, I'm starting to see the billionaire class, in a sense, behaving in a parasitic way, drowning out all things that allow a cooperative growth to take place. So they've become an invasive species. What does the three sisters teach us? Well, something quite interesting. In relation to the garden, it can provide valuable insights into the distribution of wealth and the disparities that exist within society. In this context, the three sisters typically refer to the three main crops of corn, beans, and squash, which are traditionally grown together in indigenous cultures due to their complementary features. How they grow in harmony to nature, reflecting principles that can be applied to wealth distribution. When examining the concept of billionaires gaining wealth while the majority of the population struggles with limited resources, parallels can be drawn at the imbalances depicted. Just as the three sisters thrive together in the garden, a harmonious distribution of wealth would involve a more equitable sharing of resources and opportunities among all members of society. The current landscape reflects a stark contrast with a small percentage of individuals amassing vast fortunes, while many others face financial insecurity and hardship. Each turn of the dial represents a metaphorical shift in the distribution of wealth, where the scales tips further in favor of the wealthy elite, exacerbating existing inequalities. The imbalance not only impacts individuals' financial well-being, but it also contributes to social unrest, economic instability, and a sense of disconnection within our communities. We often feel isolated and alone if we don't measure up financially. It just continues to exacerbate truth. The allegory suggests that when wealth is concentrated in the hands of a few, the overall health and prosperity of our society suffer, much as the garden deprived of its essential nutrients. And so think about it. The corn provides the stability, the climbing ability, the standing tall. The beans give the nitrogen back into the soil, and the squash acts as a ground mulch, covering as it goes. So we've worked, I think, in the lower echelons of our financial world in a more cooperative way, where we've been sort of maneuvered out of our financial realities based upon trying to divide us. And we're now in a time where we very likely are going to see a different kind of distribution of wealth. Pluto in Aquarius. Now, it is going to egress. It is in retrograde now, and it will go back into Capricorn ever so briefly, and then it'll go back into Aquarius, where it will remain for approximately 20 years. Where many things over this next 20 years in our giving and sharing process of our process of reciprocity will likely expand because Pluto requires it. So with that, we are dependent in the sense upon being aware of some of these truths. And I'm not political. This is not a political channel. But the fact that currently we have someone that very well may be able to help us gain a little bit better balance in society, I have to admit I'm actually excited about this particular election and plan on voting for Kamala Harris. Now, normally I would never mention who I'm voting for because I find that to be a quite personal matter. And not to mention that for many years, my spouse worked at the federal government, often in supervision over as many as 2,000 people. And so for me to take a political position was considered against the Hatch Act. So I didn't do that. And so Now he is no longer a federal employee, and I'm no longer bound to those types of boundaries. I didn't mind respecting other people's right to political choice. So I do want to say that even if you are somebody who votes differently than I do, I feel like it is our constitutional right to vote our conscience. And so, yes, I'll be voting Kamala. And a lot of it is because I am looking to see in government a type of manifestation of a more cooperative type of behavior moving forward. So I'm using the Crow Tarot, and we're just asking this set of cards to just kind of talk to us about it all. And the foundation of it is the Page of Pentacles, where I am asking kind of about how we have been, in a way, on this planet. And yes, it's about largely been money, but a page is kind of going to say, I'm immature and the way I do things is not well thought out. So it's suggesting that the billionaires didn't really think out their position real well. So that's interesting. And so what is in the past, a Page of Wands, where they got an idea, a fiery idea, and decided that they were going to enact their beautiful Aries moment and launch their own kind of way of managing the people. And you can see the crow sitting on the wand over the people, the town, where he's looking to bring his fiery ideas, but in a way, he's not really checking in with the people. He's just sort of squawking and telling the people how it's going to be. He's not hearing the people. He's not understanding the need for balance. So this here crow, he's squawking about what he wants to do, but he's immature, and he's again a page, and he's not really thinking through what it all might mean. And I was just going to say this, that the one was that Donald Trump has fire and air in his chart. So he's what I would refer to temperamentally as hot air. He likes to talk, he likes to squawk, he likes to tell the rest of us how we're going to do things. So there it is. And so this is in the past. And in the present condition, let me just find my card that I just dropped on the floor. And where did she go? Oh my. She's hiding from me. Oh, there she is. She's not hiding from me anymore. Oh, the lovers. Okay. So we're looking to not have our heart eaten. Okay. We're looking for something else. And we're possibly going to make a real shift here in politics. And in this sense, this is a 6. So the family itself is at stake, and many of us feel strongly that we must do what we must to manage this truth, because, for instance, women's reproductive rights, we can't continue to let that just be something that's dropped to the floor and we don't do anything about it, and we just leave these people who are sitting at the bench decide for us, hit a gavel, decide for us. And I think this is wholly unacceptable. And where it is leading is that I suspect that backroom abortions will be back on the table, is what has happened in the past, likely will happen again if this isn't addressed properly. And in that sense, women died in those stories. It's not safe. It isn't the way you want to do it. And when medical care is available, doctors are educated to do so. So largely, what is this vote about for us? Well, it's about being a member of a family, but it's also about codependence and being lovers to a system that we're tied to. And it's and we have to decide for ourselves where we fit into that and what we think is right. And you'll notice there's 2 crows. So it's like we're really starting to decide what it is that we need to do for ourselves. Okay, and that's in the here and now. So in the future, what's coming is going to be that it is going to be swift, and it will be a different crow standing on the perch, if you will. And the rest of the crows are going to fall into line. So I'm not predicting who becomes president, because this isn't really a political channel in any way, shape, or form. This is a channel telling you that I'm finding that there's a lot to be hopeful for. And along the side of this cliff, there's this feather, as if something is in the air that is much needed, that has been built one feather at a time over time to lead us to this place where we can learn to stand in our places and all feel heard. And I think we need to feel heard. I think that it's really sickening when you find you're in a system that is saying to you, if you're not 100% interested in the current political makeup, then you are a part of the problem, the deep state. I can just tell you, having been a spouse of a government employee, is just not true. They don't, none of the policies of the president actually are directly involved. And each time we had a new president, what would happen is you would recognize, yes, that you're working under that administration, and yes, your whole core shifts, but in every way you're working under that administration, but you still act as an independent body providing research, information, and development for the processes that are involved based upon science and a regard for the truth. And so with that, I want to say, in defense of everyday blue-collar federal employees, that this has been a horrible time for us. And in fact, we retired as a result of it because we just couldn't take it anymore. We were living in a small town, and some of the degradation to us as humans was just not worth it. So with that, please like, share, and subscribe. Join me. Let's start making a community here as I move forward with my astrology. I would love to share. Check me out for a reading. And thank you so much for joining me here today.